welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick, with the City of Hampton's Communications and Marketing Department. And spring is here, basically summer is almost here, and warm weather brings a lot of great things like outdoor picnics and barbecues and pool weather, but it also brings mosquitoes. And we know that, so we have the mosquito guys on today to tell us what we can do and what the city does about mosquitoes. Welcome. Chris DeHart and Tim Dubois, thank you guys for coming.
Thanks for having me.
You are the mosquito experts in town. Tell us first of all, how many varieties of mosquitoes do we have in Hampton?
Well, depending on what type of, what month it is, there's about 35 different species that we have around here year-round.
Wow, that's a lot. Do different things, I mean, they come out at different times, they bite at different levels. I mean, how do you monitor and know what's going on when?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people think mosquito is just one mosquito and you smack it, it's bad. But there's actually different types of mosquitoes, and each one of them has different habitats, different flight ranges, different biting habits. Some of them don't bite humans at all. And so we take all of that into account, and we look for them and see what species they are, and then depending on if they can carry disease or not, that's when we really go at it. So
part of it is they're pests. We don't like them. They're a real pain. But there's also a public health threat, and disease is real. What are some of the diseases that mosquitoes carry?
Well, one of the more prominent ones that people probably hear about when the media is, West Nile virus, which was really bad last year. In the country, it was probably the worst year we've had. And you have triple E, Eastern equine encephalitis, lacrosse encephalitis, and there's a few others that aren't as prevalent here, but it's enough to have some concerns. That's why we do what we do, So.
Well, now I looked back a year ago. I had at least one of you on, and we talked about mosquitoes, and it was already bad. By late May, it was already bad. They were all over the place. But I look around now, it's not so bad. What determines when mosquito season happens in Hampton?
Well, there's a lot of factors that come into it. Definitely weather is by far the most important. The warmer temperatures right now, it's not as warm as it was last year.
Right.
And also the rain. I mean, if we have a lot of rain, there's going to be a lot of standing water around. If we didn't during the winter time, it could be a little dry out there. That could help us out.
So it has been actually fairly wet, but it's been cooler, and so maybe it hasn't been quite as bad. So speaking of wet, what are some of the things we should do in our own backyards to help prevent mosquito breeding grounds?
Always dump containers. Always. I mean, that's really aimed more at the summer species.
Okay.
The Asian tiger mosquitoes.
Those are one of the really
big time
bad ones,
container
aren't they?
breeders. Yeah. This time of year, it's more woodland species, and then as time progresses, we'll get the salt marsh and the container breeders and stuff. But yeah, always. I mean, just police your house. Dump anything that could hold. I mean, even to a bottle cap. I mean, they can breed in anything. So. And don't hesitate to call 311. We'll come out within 24 hours and help inspect, the elderly, or if anybody just not sure,
All right. Well, let's back up, because you mentioned this, different types and different seasons. That's stuff I don't know. So the first mosquitoes that arrive, you said, are woodland breeders. What does that mean?
Yeah, typically the cooler weather, the species that's the most active right now is your woodland species, which means that they breed in woodland pools, usually in wooded areas or just on the outskirts of wooded areas. And those can be pesky if you live right around those areas, but further inland when you're in the neighborhoods, they don't bother you as much. There are other species out there during the springtime that can cause you, to call in, but the ones that are the most active are around the woods.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that. And then later in the summer, what kinds come out? Where do they breed?
Yeah, typically our season, when it's in full swing, is around late May, early June, and that'll last until about November. And
that's a long time.
That is a long time.
Just when you want to be outside in the yard.
Like when you get the late season storms too.
Yeah, it prolongs it.
And you have various different habitats, anywhere from just your everyday neighborhood mosquitoes around your house and also in the stormwater structures, and as well as salt marsh mosquitoes, other woodland species, just a plethora of different habitats that we have to keep our eyes on to make sure that the mosquitoes are kind of in check.
So how do you do that? Explain to me what your job is in terms of monitoring mosquitoes, knowing where they're breeding, knowing where they're going. I mean, how do you possibly keep an eye on that?
Sure. I mean, it's a pretty good job. I mean, we have I think we have 18 traps out every week.
Do you move them around, or are they always in the same place?
Yes, we have 18 permanent traps that are in the same place every time, each week, and then we have 9 transient traps that we move around based on the times of year. If there's a lot of complaints coming in, yes,
or where
well,
people
more
say.
Towards where people are. The transient ones are where we try to deal with complaints, and then the permanent ones are all around the city, so we have a very good view of everything that's going on, big picture, but then as people start calling in with mosquitoes, we can actually narrow it down to specific sites.
So what do you do with these mosquitoes when you trap them? Can you go, I mean, what do you look for? What do you look at?
That's a good question. Yeah, when we bring in the traps, we knock them down so that they're still alive, but they're down so we can actually view them under the microscope.
Oh, you like smoke them or something? You put them out.
Similar to that, yeah. And we put them under the microscope, we count them, we speciate them because different species can carry different diseases, and different species can also give us other clues about why it's bad out there. And then from there, we actually do in-house testing for West Nile and Tripoli. And that's kind of a labored process, but it's all done with in-house now.
So this is really, this is not, I see a lot of mosquitoes come spray. This is very much how dangerous are they? What kind are they? Is it a health threat? There was 1, there was 10. You really look at the data in order to determine what to do.
It's better than just aimlessly going out and spraying.
Some people would say just blast the area. I hate mosquitoes, take them all out. But some of the mosquito treatments take out beneficial insects as well.
Exactly.
And that's part of the environmental concerns.
Yep, and that's why we are very focused on surveillance and testing. If there's a problem, we will treat it. We'll take care of it. But it's basically, what we use to include it into our integrated mosquito management program is surveillance, biological control, mechanical control. I mean, all these things go together too.
Now these are big words, so tell me what they mean. Biological control, what is that?
Well, we use if we, are checking a ditch or something, we'll see that there's like beetles or fish or gambusian minnows. We'll know that that water body's pretty much policing itself. There's no need to just throw.
Oh, gotcha. The wildlife can take care of the mosquitoes because there are critters. I don't know, that's not the right word.
Predaceous diving beetles.
There are things that eat mosquitoes.
Right,
We're very happy for that.
So, we spend some of our time, policing all those areas to make sure that, it's the ecology of the area is healthy. So, but beyond that, yeah, mosquitoes can be abundant in areas, and so we use a larvicide. It's a bacteria. It's some people have seen the Mosquito Dunks. It's basically the same thing. It's just more on a commercial level. So. And
you will use those in like retaining ponds or areas that hold standing water if ditches, there's no wildlife that's going to take care of it.
Or if the balance isn't correct there, if there's just an abundance of mosquito larvae, yeah, we'll treat that.
And that is a product people can use in their own yards too if they have standing water or pools or ponds or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you could go to any of the home improvement stores or any stores like that, and they'll sell Mosquito Dunks that are these BTI, which is a bacteria. It's specifically designed for mosquitoes and black flies only, so it's very safe.
And
all
what
of
does
the
it do?
chemicals.
It like kills them, or it keeps them from breeding. I mean, what?
Yeah, I mean, it just the stuff that you can buy. It basically it acts as food, and so they eat it and then they die. We use all the chemicals that we use. It's actually very interesting. The technology that we have today, the pesticides that we use are very mosquito specific. So we're not actually endangering any of the wildlife. But we also like to, if we go to a site and we know that the balance is in check there's a lot of fish and other critters, as you called them, eating the mosquitoes, we may not have to use as much pesticide, or we can say, hey, there's only a few mosquitoes in here. It looks like the environment's kind of balancing itself out. We'll skip this treatment. And that's something that we take pride in, trying to get the environment better.
That's wonderful. So now if you guys do spray, how do you spray? What do you spray? How do you notify people if they have particular needs?
It'll basically directly come from our surveillance testing Tim does.
So you're really proactive. Tim's doing those counts and he says, send the trucks here, send the truck there.
That and, 311 requests.
People let you know.
Yeah.
So let's talk about 311 for a second. If people feel like they're having a mosquito problem, they should call 311 from their landline in Hampton, or 727-8311 from a cell, or if you're at work in another city, and report the problem. And then what do you guys do? Once you get that call?
We'll have one of the technicians go out and do some just basic inspection just to see where the problem.
Or take one of those temporary traps or something.
Well, if we find probable cause, then Tim will set a trap out in that area, and we'll see what we got. And if you go somewhere and we see larvae everywhere, we're going to treat or help people dump containers or whatever's need to be done. So yeah, it's just basically inspection, surveillance is pretty diligent about it. So
yeah, kind of going back to when do we spray? It's definitely a last resort type of an issue. We're out there all the time. We're out there surveying the standing water, making sure that there's no mosquitoes in there. If there are mosquitoes, we can use larvicides, which are pesticides that attack them when they're in their water stage.
So if they don't really hatch and fly, you've prevented a problem instead of having to treat a problem later.
So when it gets to the point where people are calling in, or we see a lot of mosquitoes in a trap, and we decide to spray with the trucks, that's kind of a last resort type of issue. It's something that we try to hold back from as much as possible.
And if people want to be on a list to be called or notified because they're beekeepers, or want some advance warning, what do they need to do to be on that registry?
Well, there's kind of two things that they can do. I think we do put out a notification in the papers. It's only out there for a short period of time, so most people miss it. But if you do miss that, anytime at all, call 311 or 8311 from your cell phone, and they'll put in a 311 request to be notified when we spray.
Okay.
We have a great relationship with our beekeepers. That's one of the things that we try to push too.
I've heard that too, and I think that's one of those environmental controls, and we need bees for pollination and the healthy environment, and so making sure that communication happens and that we're protecting the species that help us while we're worrying about the pests and the disease carriers. That's important.
It's another reason we spray at night too, is
Well, so you spray at night because?
Well, one of the reasons is because bees usually, and other insects, beneficial insects, will usually, when it becomes dark, they settle down, so they're not as active, and when mosquitoes usually are a little more active.
Right, many varieties of mosquitoes are active at around dusk and into the evening.
Or after dusk, around dark. So.
All right. What else should people know about either mosquitoes or about what you guys do?
I'd really just let everybody know that we're here, and use us if you have a problem. That's 311 request center. That's it helps us a lot to help locate little areas that are maybe that we haven't found or detected or something on that nature. But I think I don't know, we've covered it pretty good. I mean,
yeah, I mean that's a huge thing, letting people know that we're here.
Yeah.
And I will also remind people, because I forget to say this sometimes, you can also email 311. If you're not a phone person, which I am not, you can email call311@hampton.gov and get your request in any hour. They're there
24/7.
They're pretty darn late, but at least they're 24/7 on the email. Just make sure you give the location so you guys have as much information to track down that request.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for coming by, and thank you for working to prevent those mosquitoes and help all of us have a better summer.
Well, thank you for having us on.
Thanks for having us again. Appreciate it.
And thank you for watching Round Robin. I hope you'll look at your standing water, and also don't forget to call or email 311 if you're having a mosquito problem. Thank you.